Hey guys, so this is generally what a mining rig looks like. Alright, you have video cards, a power supply, a motherboard, CPU, a fan, and hard drive. So most rigs are set up with the video cards on the top shelf, and then on the bottom shelf you have your power supply, your motherboard, and your hard drive. Alright, so main thing is when you're choosing your power supply, you need to make sure that it is powerful enough to handle the amount of cards that you're getting. As you can see, I'm using the EVGA Supernova 1000G3. It's able to handle up to 6 cards, maybe a little bit more if I was to push it, but I'm only using 5 cards on this rig. And the cards that I'm using for this one are RX 470s. Alright, these are AMD cards, and they're connected to risers. Alright, so as you can see, this red card right here, that's your riser card. It connects to your video card through USB down into this little PCI cards. These allow you to use multiple video cards on your motherboard without having multiple AGP slots. So they use the PCI slots and AGP slots on your motherboard. Some motherboards can handle 11, 12, I think I've seen up to 16 video cards depending on the motherboard and the setup. Alright, as you can see, my frame is wooden. I literally built this frame for like under 10 bucks. I just got a whole bunch of cheap wood from Home Depot and put it together with some screws. But as you can see, due to time, it's warped. As you can see now, my frame is slanted, so I have to lean it up against something. But it still works as it should, so I'm in no rush to really change it right now, but I will probably change it eventually. Other uses that you can use for your frame, you can use aluminum. That's probably what I'm going to use next time. Home Depot has slotted aluminum for like $3 a piece, so I'll probably use that in screws next time when I put another rig together, or to switch out this. For these, I have the zip ties securing each video card to the top shelf, and then they rest right on top of that bottom shelf there, with the riser cards securely plugged in. They connect to the motherboard, and as you can see on this motherboard, I have an extra slot, so if I want to add a 6th video card, I'm freely able to do so. So I have a regular CPU fan, the one that came with the CPU, and a regular CPU. I think I have an i3 CPU on here. Cheapest one that I could find for the motherboard. The CPU is not important at all. You can get whatever CPU you want. Mining is not CPU intensive. Mining is purely GPU intensive. So what's going to affect your hash rate is how much memory your GPU has. And if you use a site like whattomine.com, I believe it is, or whattomine.org, you can see the different hash rates for the different video cards depending on what coin you chose. Something else that is beneficial to use when it comes to mining on your mining rig are Wi-Fi adapters. If you get a Wi-Fi adapter, then once you build your rig the first time, you can remotely connect to it anywhere with TeamViewer, and any regular hard drive can do. And as you can see, I have it connected with a SATA connector, and then I have 1 stick of RAM. That stick of RAM is 8 gigabytes. Do I need 8 gigs? Definitely not. But when I went to Micro Center, that was the lowest size that they had. So you can definitely use 4 gigabytes of RAM. That is not an issue. As you can see, we have the riser cards. They're connected via USB. For power, they're connected with these Molex connectors. And then these go directly to your power supply. Alright, it's fairly simple to set up. There really is no like way that you should be getting confused with this. As you can see, very basic setup. It's power supply to motherboard, graphic cards, which are connected with the riser cards. You have your 1 stick of RAM, your CPU fan, and your hard drive. Your motherboard, I'm going to give you right there on your screen some motherboards that are compatible with multiple video cards for mining. Obviously, the later the better. But even if you buy the latest, when you get your motherboard, the first thing you should do is update the BIOS. Alright? A lot of the issues that come across with setting up a rig comes with drivers and BIOS problems. So update your BIOS to the latest BIOS when you get your motherboard. When you are first starting out building your rig, only have one video card connected. When you go to install the drivers, start off with one connected and run from that, install the drivers, reboot, and then do a next one, log in, see if there's any driver errors with that. If there's no driver errors, if it detects both of them and it shows that there are no driver issues, great. Turn it off, plug in the third one, and so on and so forth. Some people will notice that after 3 to 4 cards are installed, the others won't show up or they'll have a driver error. What you will have to do in that case is reinstall the drivers every time that you plug one in, which means connect the card, install the drivers, reboot, connect another card, install the drivers, reboot, and so on and so forth until all of them are reading. Modded BIOS can give you a higher hash rate when it comes to your rig. Higher hash rates mean you get more coins faster. So obviously there's a benefit in that. But when it comes to modded BIOS, you also have to patch your driver files. So that correlates with the installation of your cards. Now let's say if I was installing card 1, I would have to plug it in, boot up my computer, install the drivers, patch the drivers, turn the computer off, install card 2, log on, see if it shows any issues. If it doesn't show any issues, great. Turn it off, plug in card 3, and so on and so forth. But if it does show a driver issue, then you have to unpatch your drivers, turn the computer off, turn it back on, repatch your drivers, turn it back off, turn it back on, and then it usually does show up after that. So it gets a little bit tedious and time consuming when it comes to using modded BIOS on your rig, but the benefits do outweigh the issues that you may come across. Alright, so another thing that is important, hopefully you guys do not mind the glare, but in your BIOS setup, if you're using more than 4 cards, you have to go and set up your PCI settings. So as you can see in my PCI settings, we have system status, advanced, boot, security, save and exit. We're gonna go to advanced, and then we're looking for our PCI settings. On this motherboard, they're called PCI subsystem settings. Now we have PEG0, PEG1, latency, and above 4G memory / cryptocurrency mining. Alright, now this should be set to Gen 1. You can set PEG1 to Gen 1 as well, but I didn't need to. And you need to enable 4G memory. Some motherboards will say cryptocurrency mining, others won't. Some will just say 4G memory. Turn that on. If that's not on, you're not going to be able to read more than 4 cards. So once you have that enabled, that's set to generation 1. You can save and exit, and then your cards should read at that point. Alright, so this is what everything looks like when it's running. And this is Claymore's miner, which I'm about to get into further into detail.